Hey guys, it's Vandiazzo, back at another card fight Vanguard commentary video. So because join.com, subscribe, and shall we? So before we get this one started, sorry for the long wait on this one. I know this was supposed to go up on Saturday initially, but things came up on Saturday that prevented me from recording this. Then things came up on Sunday that prevented me from recording that, and I finally have free time and money to record this. So hopefully this goes up later today. If it doesn't, then I'm sorry for that one too, but it should go up by tomorrow. So there is kind of that. A lot of things came up. And then the other thing I want to say is, sorry, the audio is going to be a little bit weird because while I was trying to figure out a trend on what my computer does, because sometimes it automatically leaves the audio for some reason, I kind of figured out the trend, but I didn't realize that I would need to record before that. So kind of in a 50-50 situation, but hopefully the audio doesn't cut out because last time I did this recording, the audio just stopped working in general. And if it does stop working this time, well, I guess I'm just going to have to go full commentary. So hopefully I can do that. So let's go and get this started, shall we? And see what we got in one of my favorite matches to record because, yeah, I'll just go into detail later. Please don't fail on me audio, please, I beg of you. Okay. Oh, it's better! Oh, it's fixed! Oh my god, it worked! I'm a genius, I fixed the trend! Okay, wait, no, I actually know how to fix the trend now. Okay, good. But,
for patron now.
Okay, anyways, this is a match between my Bastion Accord deck specifically and my Bavsargra Blaze Armored Break, whatever it's called. And what I mean by Bastion Accord specifically is, as we saw in the match with Viaman's Bruce and my other Bastion deck, and you can kind of tell by the triggers here and the PG, is that in that build, it was pretty much like my Nirvana build where it has all three Bastions, or Nirvanas respectively, obviously, except that it doesn't have one-ofs because I don't need one-ofs in that deck. And it's pretty much meant to take advantage of all the Bastions at once, mainly with OG being a, you know, kind of, if you have to go into it for power, you do, but if you have the option of Prime, you just go into Prime, and then Accord you can kind of sit on. But then for this build, it's pretty much what people have been asking for Bastion. Not me personally, because I actually really liked the idea of Bastion having all grade 3s. I thought it was a really cool thing. Competitively, maybe it wasn't that good, but I know I found it really cool to do. But anyways, this version of the deck is pretty much what people have been asking for with Bastion, where it can be consistently ran with a bunch of grade 2s and grade 1s instead of just bomb rushing it with grade 3s. And honestly, this deck kind of works out. You know, this is my first 3 games with it, obviously, as per usual, because testing doesn't exist with me. But basically, you know, we get to see some nice pressure from Bastion. Me calling home to Talia from this. Believe it or not, I think that's an actual trend with the deck. Like, it does see a trigger off of 4 every now and again, but it rarely sees a trigger. So, like, if you ever had a problem with 4, this deck for some reason works for some reason. But anyways, you know, we go to the Bavsargra sign. Believe it or not, the reason this match was actually recorded was specifically because of this fucker right here. As we all know, Vilord got revealed on Friday, and my thing is I've been waiting for a grade 1 overdress since the set 1 of, like, overdress, and I've been wanting for it for a while now, and I thought it would look exactly like that, except maybe minus the moon and be more orange colored like regular Virina, but I slowly lost faith over time. And then suddenly, on Friday, I'm thinking, okay, as much as I don't want Gravidia to win, at the same time, I want to at least get the thumbnail done by the end of the weekend so I can, like, do the weird thumbnail tree. And that didn't happen, but in exchange, I got, the thing I've been waiting for like 11 sets now, so I'll take that as a win personally. And I was so excited that I decided to do this match, and because of it, I was like, you know what? Let's give Bastion another new deck build and just make it the one that has like a good amount of grade 2s and grade 3s. So this is one of the games that doesn't go the best in terms of getting to show off the grade 1s and grade 2s because, as you see, we have only 1 grade 1 in hand right now, and honestly, I don't know where the fuck the grade 2s are. To be fair, there's only 6 grade 2s in the deck, so I guess it makes sense, not counting Rooks, but I mean, to be fair though, I guess it kind of makes sense that you want to see all the grade 2s that much, though the grade 1s, granted, like, there's a total of 15 grade 3s compared to, like, the combination of, I think, 6 grade 2s and let me quickly do the math on that, 6 grade 2s, and that would have to be 9 grade 1s, but I mean, to be fair though, the deck works as it does, and as you see, we get to the Bavsargra turn, we get to play Vilord. This doesn't have the new arms yet because this was literally made right after the match that Mirai had with Haruka, so I kind of just bomb rushed this, so there's no such thing as new arms as we're talking right now. There's only the Vilord and that's it. But I mean, we do get to show off some pressure, and this is kind of what I've loved about the new Bav stuff. Like, as you saw, I'm paying a little bit less resource. Granted, like, this is more of a brick turn, quote-unquote, but I'm paying less resources to get the double arm, which is nice to have. I'm also still getting a good amount of buffs out of it, and slowly but surely, Vylord's basically going to win the game because Vylord can't be affected by abilities, and he basically gives a free Persona ride every single turn. So by using Vylord consistently to pump up power, even if my first turn starts off really slow, I can just add for more numbers, as Bavsargra will always get the extra critical, and my rear guards will always be swinging for good numbers. And against a deck that doesn't really have high guarding power, I mean it has higher guarding power than my other Bastion deck does, so take that as you will, then it can kind of just push for game really easily. Now, of course, we go into the Accord turn, and we get to finally see the whole drive check stick. So we draw a card, we get Persona rides, we have a decent amount of cards in hand that aren't specifically grade 3s, which is good because I need this Bastion for restand abilities. So we called down the grade 2, who I was honestly, like, if this deck ended up having a CB problem, or I just didn't see Bastions enough, I was gonna, like, dip that grade 2 entirely, because, honestly, I don't really care for bounce bottom abilities, except this deck doesn't run into a CB problem, and it, like, sees all my Bastions relatively easy enough, because this deck, like I said, is basically fully Bastion Accord. It has 2 regular Bastions as backup, and then it has, you know, main deck is 3 Bastion Accords, and I don't run Prime, because I know personally, Prime is my favorite of the 3 Bastions. Like, I like, in terms of art, I like Accords more, but in terms of outright skill, I love Bastion Prime so much more, and that actually kind of became apparent to me when I was playing the match against Viamance, where even though I wanted to stay on Accord, I love Prime much more than I love Accord, and much more than I love OG, to the point where, like, whether it's a bad idea or not, I would just go into Accord anyways. I mean, not Accord, Prime anyways. So I chose not to put Prime in this deck so I can, you know, focus more on Accord with the new boy. And then, you know, as we can see, it's kind of working out. You know, we get our extra drive checks. We're putting a little bit of pressure. If you're wondering why I didn't put the crit on the rear guard, I, like, already knew that no matter what, I would have to see another crit to break through anyways. Because as per usual, I like to, try to make it seem like I'm, even though I am playing against myself, I like to try to mimic how I would play against another person, how another person play, well, on both sides. So, you know, in this case, I kind of knew the PG would be coming, and even if I didn't, because maybe I didn't see it, I would have assumed a PG is coming, because I gaslight myself a lot into thinking that my opponent has something that they don't. I still remember one specific game where that fucked me over, and it was an idiot. But, you know, it's fine, ignoring that aside. We play more orders, we get our draws, and this is a moment I am interestingly proud of, because, as I said, this deck was made right after the Mirai match, and, if you don't remember, on both Mirai and Haruka got into that situation where it was like they have to put both of them had 2 on attacks, and both of them pretty much had to put everything on Vanguard if they wanted to win that turn. And normally, I don't equip the gun. Ow, my throat. And normally I don't equip the gun, but for some reason here I was like, the gun is just a good idea. Like, I'm being dead serious with you. Like, I didn't pay attention to anything that was in the Bastion hand, as per usual. I just felt instinctively I should just put the gun on, which, again, I rarely use the gun. So, I just don't know why I listened to that thought, but, you know, we go for boost, we get numbers, it's almost the same set that Mirai had, and then we do the counterblast 2 to get a drive, which, again, is something I almost never do. And then at that moment, I realized that Bastion doesn't have a PG, so I just start throwing cards on guard circle. I think I guard for a 2 to pass, and then we do our drive checks. Now, again, at this point, I've realized that I've used the gun, and I'm now starting to be like, why the fuck did I use the gun? I never use the damn gun. And then I do my triple drive. First check is a heal trigger, and the weird thing is this. You can always tell when I cut something. I did not cut there. I straight up did not cut there. Instinctively, I took the 10k off and put a 10k on. So, like, basically, I just, without thinking, I just shoved everything to Bav, and it worked out. And off camera, in the dialogue that was, you know, that I always mute, because obviously I'm watching something copyrighted in the background, I said, I know this is gonna go through before I did the 3rd check, because Vylord's the one that gave me this triple drive. Or not necessarily Vylord, because the gun gave me the triple drive. And I pulled the crit, and I kid you not, I was flabbergasted that I, succeeded. And again, a situation where I didn't even think about it. Like, there are times where I don't think things through and it just works out, but this was different. Like, I had no idea what I did, why I did it, again, because I never used the gun. I just went off the basis of pure instinct, no second thought or anything, and it worked out for some arbitrary reason. But, you know, we get to game 2, and I guard that with, I remember the point that I made with this one, with why I guarded that, was because I knew exactly a crit would show up, because I know this deck has 1 more crit than Bastion, or my normal Bastion deck, and I think it was 1 more crit. You'd think it wouldn't show up as often, but then last game, because this was the actual game too, because thankfully I never had to do reshots, but because the previous game they had just saw so many crits, I was like, Yeah, something tells me they're gonna see a crit here, so I just threw down 15k, and I was like, oh, cool, there's a crit. And then as I put it to drop zone, remembering that I want Bastion to win this so I don't have to re-record something, I thought to myself, ah, wait, I shouldn't have guarded that, I should have taken it. But, like, that kind of goes to show you that if you ever thought that I rigged these matches, I don't. I really don't. Like, even the ones that I want to, Youthberg versus Dradroid being the main one, I don't. I will willingly take I will suffer as long as it takes just to see something through. If that doesn't, like, kind of give you an idea, I spent, and I kid you not, and I kept track of this, 197 matches in Yu-Gi-Oh! For the side channel that I run. I spent 197 matches trying to get one specific outcome. Could I have cheated to get it? Oh, fuck yeah, no one would have been the wiser. But I sat there for 197 games with little break in between just to get one result. That's how determined I am for this. So if you ever think that I cheat these or like I rig it to whoever I want to win, no, I don't. The only time it's quote-unquote rigged is if I had, and by the way, I put quotation marks over that. The only time that it's quote-unquote rigged is like where, if, say for example, I want someone to win, but then, and I play out the matches and they don't win, and then when I go back in editing, either one of the matches that they lost, or it doesn't matter, it's specifically the match that they lost, but like a match in general during that, either it went, like, was really boring to watch in my opinion, because maybe one side just got screwed over by luck, or if the game lagged. If it's, and trust me, when it lags, it looks really weird. So, you know, if it's something like that, then in that case, yes, I will quote-unquote cheat and just redo the match, but I don't actually, like, full redo everything and, like, or, like, you know, what I mean by this is I don't try to redo it and then let the side I want to win. I either, if it's like one of the first games, because I always say the first game because situations from before, like whenever the camera does glitch, it's typically the first game that it glitches on. So I would always use the what's it called, the save function in tabletop to save the first game, and then I always go based off of that one. But pretty much that if it's like the first game that glitch, I always just like replay the first game, and sometimes I'll shuffle the hand, sometimes I won't. Like if I'm on a time crunch, I won't shuffle the hand, but if I'm not on a time crunch, I'll just shuffle the hand. But then if it's what's it called, but then if it's like a middle game, I'll just like respawn down the first game, shuffle the hands a few times, and then just kind of figure it out from there. So I don't rig it at all, like at all, but sometimes it does work out to where it seems like I rigged it, but I didn't. Anyways, back onto the gameplay. You know, we go for pressure. This is like the standard opening now. If you're wondering why I took all those attacks earlier, if you couldn't tell, my only ways of guarding was a PG and an over. I'm not throwing down either of those before either of us get to grade 3. I'm keeping those in hand. Fuck it if it causes me to go to 4. I'm fine with that. I mean, I've done worse, such as keep a full hand of orders with Zorga and then just believed it would work out, and then it did for some arbitrary reason. But, anyways, no, we get on to the Bastion turn, and, you know, Bastion going second and all, we have this. And just to speak on this, I knew when I was editing this was not the right name. I knew for a damn fact it was Sort of the People, or Sort of All People, but I'll change it in the future. I really like the name Sort of the Nation. Sort of All People just sounds so redundant to me. I really wish this was the real name, which is why this deck is actually called Sword of the Nation, believe it or not. So I'll change the Ride chant next time when I do an Accord fight, but for now I allow myself to use the preferred name, which is Sword of the Nation, which just sounds so cool to me. And here comes the Treasure Beast. Now, when I was building the deck, I made a lot of different thoughts on all these cards. Like, specifically, Fusado was here for counter and soul charge, like I said. If I ran into a CB problem, I would ditch that grade 2 that can bot deck stuff and run either more Fusados or Delibre. Like, if I didn't see a good enough amount of Bastions, then I would run Delibre over that grade 2. And if I did see my Bastion consistently enough, which I did, then I would just add in more Fusados. But the Treasure Beast, I put in here on the whim that, like, you know, I'm never going to use these in my other decks, and I might as well, because I actually think this one's really cool, and I think it's cute. So I'm going to actually use the grade 1 Treasure Beast here, and I also did not think it would be as useful as it is. It really, even though there's only 2 copies of it, I saw it consistently almost every game, and he just, like, really came in clutch, to the point where I'm, like, I had to run him now. Like, it's a consistent thing now, and I was planning on ditching him, too, if he didn't work out. Though the thing here is, though, and I hate myself for it, I called it here, because originally I was going to call it here thinking like, I don't know why, but what if I pull a Honataria? Like, I was so confident that I was going to pull a Honataria too, but I was like, nah, because if I don't pull a Honataria, then I'm definitely going to get a weaker booster out of this if it calls it here. So I just listened to my brain and called the Treasure Beast over here. When I saw the Honataria from this skill, I was like, man, I was right. My instinct was right. I should have just listened to my gut. Just called this thing right here. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't make a difference. But it would have made more numbers on the rear guard columns, what my priority was. But, man, I so upset with myself that I didn't just follow through with that idea. But anyways, we go for pressure. Normally, I would have tried to restand this boy as the target. But I wanted CC back, so I used Fusado as bait here. So, you know, we get our triggers. First check's a draw. We put more on Fusado to try to hit the counter charge off. Second check, it doesn't matter. And something I realized about Bastion yesterday, actually, so I'm kind of glad that I missed the recording day, and that is the fact that the restand ability gives the rear guard the ability to ditch a Bastion and counterblast one. It's not a counterblast one, ditch one when you do the restand, which is something I mean, technically it doesn't change the result anyways, and technically it does, like, if you don't swing with that unit first, but, like, I don't know. That's just something I didn't realize, though. It's not going to change how I play the deck. Hell, I'll probably keep forgetting, though. That's the fact of the matter, that you have to specifically give the skill, and then when the thing attacks, it gets the restand. But either way, it doesn't matter. We get our pressure up. As you see, we're getting, like, decent, so we're getting decent CB. Like, this deck worked out much better in terms of CB and cost than I thought it would. Like, even though we got a lot of that CB from, you know, Bavsargra rushing us, I promise you, after playing with this deck enough, you actually realize this deck only needs 1 CB for the entirety of the game, and honestly, for a good chunk of games, it can work with just 0 CB. Like, depending, like, that works best if you go first, but you can still win even if you only have 1 CB. It's just a lot harder, but that's the fun thing about the deck. It can't really get CB starved, or at least not well. And, you know, I just called down the Vilord. Here's the thing, my original plan was to actually use this motherfucker's skill to send this to Soul and then draw an arm, and I was so confident that I would draw an arm too. Like, I was confident I would see a Honataria. Except my thought process was there for a second, wait, I don't have enough arms to warrant risking that, because I think I was like, half of them are out now, and I think there's more than like 30 cards left, or like more than 25 cards left in the deck. So I thought to myself, and was like, do I really want to bank this on like a 1 in some odds that I actually pull the card I need? Because obviously I had a Trick Star and Drop Zone based off of earlier, or Trick Moon and Drop Zone, my bad. So I could, and the plan was obviously to overdress and then get a fuck ton of numbers out of it. But then I thought about it and I was like, if I risk this and I don't see an arm, then I've kind of just screwed myself over. So I chose not to do it, and yeah, it was a good idea in the long run. Like, I wasn't going to obviously see an arm, sadly. And I also checked Vilord a bunch of times to see if he had to be specifically placed in the overdressed state to get the arms, and yes, he did, sadly. And maybe any other person would have just stopped the attacks here, but like I said before, Bastion can really, this Bastion deck specifically can work with 1 CB, so the fact that they already had 1 CB, there was no real reason not to swing at Vanguard. The only reason that there would be is to slow down their plays so that they can't really proc off combos, but as you can see, there's nothing really dangerous in the hand that would warrant that idea. And again, I play like I don't know what's in the other person's hand, which in this case I didn't. So, you know, it's not like it made the difference long run as I'm getting at. Like, CB wouldn't have made the difference. Might as well just poke them, and if I somehow survive the next turn, I can win. But yeah, it wouldn't have made the difference. And here is where I thought, oh, Bav is gonna live. Then I grabbed the PG, and this is where I realized Bav is dead. Here's why. Basically, this is going to restand. Regardless if I see triggers or not, this is a 28 plus a 13k. 41. Okay, we block with these two. Except for the PG. If I use it now, I have to discard something. And that means I'll have to discard this PG, and if I don't, I have to discard one of these two. And the point is that I don't have the shield anymore, meaning at most, I have a 15k guard left, and this is more than 50k. In fact, this is exactly more than 50k, flat 28. So, pretty much what has to happen here is I have to guard this for a 1 to pass, pray that there are no triggers on the first 2 cards, and then drop PGs for the other 2. How likely is that to happen? In my mind, it was pretty likely that I would survive this. And first check is a crit. So again, this is me kind of realizing that Bastion can and will consistently see crits whether I want it to or not. So Bastion kind of just puts down the pressure, breaks through the 2 to pass, or the 1 to pass, and yeah, Bavsargra is sadly dead. We see the heal, that did not make a fucking difference, but it happened. So now we move on to game 3. And now, game 3, Again, for once, it's actually a realistic Game 3, so, you know, it's not like me changing around the matches because someone lost the original Game 2 and I didn't want it to be like, oh, well, one deck is going to win all the time, so I have to go make Game 3 a thing. So thankfully this time Game 3 was consistently on its own accord, and, you know, we're kind of going through the pressure. I again let Bav go first, not because I wanted Bastion to win. Again, I always try to make both sides win. But in this case, I let Bav go first because even though last game, Bastion did get the double grade 3 off, I had this game was pretty much just me having a strong feeling about everything that would happen. But I had a strong feeling that Bav would benefit from going first for some reason. But also in the sense of, I'm going to get extra crit on the Vanguard circle, so I can just push the higher pressure. So I don't know what made me think that Bastion was like in danger for some reason, or like Bav just had such a good advantage going into this match. But I trusted my feelings on this one, unlike I did with the Honotaria play. And I take the damage. I hope for double triggers so I can shut down the multi-attack because I want this to be a close match. And cool, I get the double trigger I needed. So, you know, the deck's responding. It's doing its job. I was originally going to guard the grade 1, but in that situation, there was no reason to, so because I just get rushed. And then I go for my turn, stand and draw, discard, ride rooks. I hope for a grade 3 here to, I don't know why I revealed 2 grade 3s, or like 2 different grade 3s. I hope for a grade 3 here. Sadly, I only get Proby, probably my worst target. I would have been fine with seeing a crit because I have enough crits. I actually need my draws to help increase my hand and hopefully increase my guarding power. But either way, we go for small pressure. I remember my exact words there too was, I really hope I get an attacker. And I was tempted to call Proby to the front row, honestly, because I believe that the deck gave me it for a reason, thinking that, oh, the next trigger is going to be the over trigger, or the next card's going to be a trigger in general, but it was not, and I'm glad I called it to back center. Anyways, we get the arms come down, and this is where I kind of began to realize something. So here's my disappointment. I did this entire match for Vilord, and yeah, that actually needs explaining. So I did this entire match for Vilord, and I didn't pull Vilord, but the important thing to know here is if you saw that change, if you ever see that change, that pretty much is me taking something back, like realizing I missed a mandatory skill, so I have to redo the entire part of it. And well, don't worry, I never got too far to the point where like I would have cheated, like I changed the result of something, because what I missed pretty much was calling the Trick Moon. Like I immediately equipped the spear, I did the soul charge, I for some reason kept forgetting about the Trick Moon, I played the next order, and then I entered the battle phase, and then before I did anything with that, I then proceeded to realize, wait, I forgot to use my, if I could get my brightness, I forgot to use the skill to call Trick Moon. I basically kept repeating the same cycle where even though I would unequip the spear or the shield, I kept forgetting to, you know, maybe delete the power-ups that I gave to the Orishas already, or maybe forget the counter blast that I already paid. So I just have to keep redoing that till I finally fixed it. It only took about 56 seconds, believe it or not, so less than a minute actually. I would know that because I edited the video, but pretty much, you know, we go for standard play, Trick Moon swings, I PG them because I'm at 2 damage, and I'm like, okay, cool, I have a decent hand, I can use Treasure Beast to top 5 search to hopefully make a board, and I was confident again I would see a Honotaria or something big, and I can go to 4 damage this turn, so I will be fine. And then we see crits, and I'm like, okay, 1 crit, that's fine, I can still survive. 2 crits. And that's what I meant by there, well, there goes that plan, the plan about the Treasure Beast thing. I know without commentary that is kind of vague, but yeah, 2 crits. And as you can see, this doesn't have shield because I'm not on a Bastion. And because this thing requires 2 cards in Ride deck, or 2 cards from the Ride deck in your soul or drop zone, the only 2 cards I have in my soul right now are both from Ride deck. And as for 4, well, next turn it's physically impossible for me to get another card in Ride deck, meaning I can't use both of them. Meaning I have to, unless I see double triggers or a single trigger, I basically have to use one of them to survive this next turn. So I'm just like, please, 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 please give me any one trigger. I don't care what it is. Have to take an attack now. Or I have to guard this. And I was honest, I'm not kidding you. I didn't cut there, but my dialogue, what I said in that moment was, do I want to guard this? Is it, like, how likely does it pull a heal trigger off the top 2 cards? And I was debating about it for a second, and I just was like, as I'm moving, well, it's already too late, I've already grabbed the card. So I use the skill, get the 15k, and as much as I'm disappointed in this, I'm like, to be fair, it's the reason I'm still alive, it's a 20k guard. So as much as I hate the fact that I had to use that there, I am glad that I put it in the deck because any other card that I know I would have put in would have actually made me lose the game. So I'm glad I put in the Treasure Beast, and we get our draws, and I'm like, okay, I have no guard power. I have to find some way to push. Is there a chance I could pull the over this turn? Maybe see double crits, you know? Is that a way? I mean, Bav saw technically triple crits this game. She saw, I think, 2 Burning Flails back-to-back. I think last turn she saw a Burning Flail. So, you know, we go for swings. We force out the shield early on. We guard with Prahama, which was a 2 to pass. And then my first check is a draw trigger. And then I put the power... Yeah, because I didn't think I could, you know, kill with that, basically. Or, like, I didn't think I'd see another trigger. Second check, I was right, I didn't want to see another trigger. Except, the weird thing is I took this, and I don't know why. I think my intention here was that, like, I wanted CB, but at the same time, I was like, maybe Bastion pulls a double crit, so I would guard this in case. And then I didn't, and then when I put it in the drop zone, I immediately thought to myself, man, I regret guarding that. I really wanted the CB for next turn, because I had this and, you know, the whole draw plan in mind with the spear. And then when I guess the draft check comes through, this isn't the first time this happened, but I think I, like, thought to myself for a second, like, oh, I guess I didn't guard it. Like, I genuinely forgot that I had the front in there. So, I guess, like, at the end of the day, I got my original plan. The only thing is I lost a guard power out of it. But to be fair, at the end of the day, it doesn't make a difference. Again, small misplay, technically speaking. I should have discarded when Fusado swings. But, I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't change what happens. This one swings, I guard this because apparently I only need 2 CB. Oh yeah, because I was afraid of the double crit too. First check, no trigger. Second check, no trigger. And my exact words were, okay, so Bastion's lost this because, I mean, we have the Persona Ride, we have Trick Moon, we have numbers. This is probably, I think, 51. And then, like, Bastion can't guard this. Like, what? This is 28, 38, 43, 53. If I was right and it is 51, we can guard for a total of a 2 to pass if we're willing to drop everything else. And honestly, we kind of have to drop everything else. But, yeah, this is where game kind of comes in, and Bastion loses. Like, spoiler alert if you haven't seen the game yet, Bastion just loses here because, again, Bastion doesn't have enough to block. We do the sword play, or sorry, we do the spear play. We get some extra draws. I was trying to draw into a Vilord. I didn't draw into a Vilord, sadly, but, I mean, hey, I get to call something from drop. It was a Sahamada. It doesn't really make a difference anyways. Like, we have the numbers. We have Trick Moon. This is kind of game with no PGs, and we use Bav's skill, which I did question for a second if I used it or not, and then I saw the spear on top, and I was like, oh, I didn't use the Bav's draw then. So, I use the skill Bav, kill the front row, get the extra crit, and yeah, now it's game, because what Bav has... I forgot to add the crit. I mean, it doesn't matter. I knew there was... Oh, there we go. I knew there was double crit anyways. Anyways, 23, 28, plus 20, that's 48. Plus the 10k, which I think I forgot to calculate for the spear. So, what did I say before? 48 or 58? 33 plus 25, 58. There we go. So, I mean, either way, though, it's game. Like, Bav is 1. It doesn't matter. The most I could have guarded for, I think, was... Actually, now I'm doing the math. I actually could have guarded for a 1 to pass no matter what. And, well, the first check was a front. So, yeah. Bav just wins. Like, there's nothing... My plan was if somehow Bastion survived this. And by the way, I asked for that heal, and the deck responded, so thank you, deck. And I looked at the situation before I took this damage. That's what that me hating the thing was. Well, I'll also check for lag. But pretty much, I looked at my hand at that moment, and I was like, okay, if I pull a second trigger, I can live. But, yeah. No second trigger. But I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do what I always do. Fight to the end, baby! Throws down, like, everything I can guard with just to prove a point. Guard, guard, and then Kanashida attacks. I realize I can't block this, so I just take this to the face. And my plan for Bab next turn is if Bastion somehow survived this, just use double arms with the gun. But, I mean, there's the crit that I could have used to survive. But either way, though, that's the end of the game. So, thank you all for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, sorry for the delay. I really wanted to get this out earlier, but things came up. But at the end of the day, that happened, and I got to test out my new Bastion deck, which was nice to play, and also I got to test out Vilord, who I've basically been waiting for since set 1. So without further ado, I'm getting this one here. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, join us, go follow Twitch, and I'll see you all in the next one. Don't forget to stand up your vanguards.